So everybody, I just wanted to tell you this rising to keep your vibrations high because a lot's going on. We all know about the currencies and the currency revaluations that will occur and the global currency reset that we're experiencing. But so many focuses have been on Iraq, which is a good thing that I desire for everybody to like diversify our portfolios just so we can be safe. And so, what I mean by safe is just in case Vietnam takes its time, you may have other currencies, or just in case Vietnam doesn't um, revalue as much as we anticipate, which I know that's going to happen anyway, you have other currencies to back up on or to utilize. But it's always good to diversify. And so, having said that, I wanted to tell everybody to keep your eyes on Vietnam. I don't know if you all heard about this, but President Trump is investing a $1 billion groundbreaking tower in Vietnam. And according to the article, this is the second investment that he's made of this nature in the country of Vietnam. Now, Vietnam, as you know, has been war torn because of the Vietnam War. And I have relatives that were in the Vietnam War. They said it was catastrophic. I have an uncle that recently passed, and whatever he endured in Vietnam completely changed his personality. It changed his capacity to cope. And he became a very enraged, angry man because he could not get the images out of his head of his family members, his friends being exploded or annihilated during the war right in front of his face and some of his battle buddies. So he had a very bad marriage where he would black out. He became addicted to drugs. And when he would black out, he became abusive. But his wife understood what he had gone through and the trauma, and they went through counseling. And during his latter, I want to say 10 years, can you imagine? Vietnam was years ago, but during the latter 10 years of his life, their marriage became very good and loving, and I don't know, they were able to restore all those lost years from the trauma that he had endured. But the war, of course, left the country war torn. However, the companies that were in China for many, many decades fled to Vietnam during the pandemic. So the reason why they fled to Vietnam during the pandemic and right before the pandemic is because under the Trump's administration, his first administration, he was attacking China. And he was telling China, he was telling China, we're going to put tariffs on you because you all have gotten away with importing your goods into America with little to no tariffs, but you would put a lot of taxes and tariffs on our imported goods. And as a matter of fact, China had anticipated overtaking America, controlling our country, Africa, and the whole world. So when President Trump was talking about tariffs, and putting tariffs on China. And he was talking about how China and the government was in cahoots here in America to control our resources in our country. Those companies that were in China fled because they knew Trump was coming after China. He was putting high tariffs and taxes on China. So they fled and went to Vietnam. If you look at my video called Become a Billionaire, there's a small section in that video where I say, don't sleep on Vietnam, because I talked to you all about how those companies, including American companies, fled from China to Vietnam because they wanted to take advantage of the cheap labor that was there. And they wanted to take advantage of the resources that were there and escape Trump's tariffs. Well, because they did that, Vietnam's currency, although it didn't look like it was revaluing, it started doing better and the GDP exploded. And their resources were exploited as well, because now miners started going to Vietnam, and Vietnam's country started to thrive unbeknownst to most people. And whereas the whole world was shut down, Vietnam was still doing business during the global pandemic. Not only were they doing business, but they were securing trade deals with other Southeastern nations, Southeast Asian nations and countries. So Vietnam was thriving during the global pandemic. So what I'll do though is I'll revisit the information that I put in that video, Become a Billionaire, because it was really good. I did a deep dive into all the resources that are in Vietnam and how Vietnam was doing so good against most people's knowing. Let's see. Philip says, get in touch with your state or country and state assembly. Okay. Philip says, before I said I had 76,120 American federal dollars backed by gold. Now my account is now 91,000 American Federation dollars backed by gold, which is now 3,301 per ounce. Huh. Thank you for that information. PN, it can get dark and weary sometimes, but the race is not for the strong or the swift, but it's for those who can endure to the morning. Oh, I just got chills reading that. Stay encouraged and be of good cheer. Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys are amazing. Dr. Phillips says, Dr. Kia goes hard with all this information or this knowledge and free information. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. Superior Rising, Sister Shay. So let's get right into the news. I know you all have to get your day on, and so do I. Here is what President Trump is doing right now in Vietnam. He is erecting a $1 billion groundbreaking tower that he's calling a $1 billion investment. And this is actually being initiated by the Trump group, which is, or the Trump organization, which is run by his children. And according to the article, this is his second investment. The article says, the Trump organization is planning a $1 billion Trump Tower in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, with construction potentially starting in 2026, according to a source familiar with the discussions. Excuse me. I've been talking a lot doing podcasts and interviews. The skyscraper, proposed to be at least 60 stories tall, excuse me, would mark the second major project that the Trump family business is pursuing in the country. Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump organization, visited Vietnam last week to assess the Toi Team site, an emerging financial district. Ooh, y'all see that emerging financial district. Why does Vietnam have an emerging financial district? Because Vietnam is very prosperous and they're slated to do even more business with not just the Trump family, but other countries and other businesses. Please keep your eyes on Vietnam. I know we've been talking about Iran, Syria, and some of these other investments. They cost more than Vietnamese currency. Right now, you can get $1 million for what, like $72 USD. Family, keep our eyes on Vietnam. Vietnam last week. Let's see. Eric Trump visited Vietnam last week to assess the site and emerging financial district, and to attend the groundbreaking ceremony for a separate $1.5 billion golf resort in the north. The golf resort will be developed by Vietnamese firm Kim Bok City, with the Trump organization handling operations. A similar model is expected for the Trump Tower project, with local firms funding most of the development. Vietnam is currently engaged in trade negotiations with the United States to avoid 46% tariffs. So Vietnam is trying to evade almost 50% tariffs on their imported goods coming into our nation. So they're doing whatever they can to be friends with Donald Trump. So they're engaged in trade negotiations to avoid the tariffs, and Prime Minister Xing has reportedly expedited approvals for related projects. So it's not just the golf project, but related projects. During his visit, Eric Trump met with local officials and emphasized that the Vietnam developments would become the envy of all of Asia and the world. Although permits are still pending, the Trump organization aims to begin construction of the tower next year. The final investment could exceed $1 billion if approval is granted for additional floors. Both the Trump Organization and the Kinbox City declined to comment. I would too. I wouldn't tell y'all. I wouldn't tell everybody what I plan to do or show everybody my hand. That's a good uh, thing for all of us to do, like move in silence. The Trump Organization, known for luxury towers in New York City, Chicago, and overseas locations like Turkey and the Philippines, that's where Princess Elizabeth is, continues to expand its global footprint with the Vietnam venture. What do we know about New York? We know that that's where President Donald Trump lived. We do know it's a liberal city. Also, that person that was relieved, that President Trump pardoned yesterday, Grimm, he is a GOP, Michael Grimm representative from New York. What do we know about Chicago? We know that the gentleman who received the pardon yesterday or 2 days ago, Larry Hoover, we reported on that yesterday, is from Chicago. We also know there's a very important bloodline there in Chicago. We know that there are records kept about Tennessee, America being Egypt, America being part of the Moroccan Empire is also kept in Chicago. Larry Hoover's from Chicago. Michael Grimm is from New York. Let's keep our eyes focused on these. And they didn't mention Louisiana here, but the rapper NBA, somebody or another, I forgot his name, but he received a pardon yesterday. He's from Louisiana. Louisiana has the oldest bloodline on the planet. The United Nations called the Washita people from Louisiana, or the Washita nation, the oldest indigenous peoples on the planet. So when they mention cities and states, know that there's a reason. Okay, and keep your eyes open. Let's all try to align the news that we hear, with each other, so we can see the dots that they're trying to connect for us. So the Trump Organization, known for luxury towers in New York, Chicago, and overseas locations like Turkey and the Philippines, where Princess Elizabeth, who is the trigger for the global financial wealth and for the King Solomon Trust, she's also the trigger for the Marcos Trust, because Marcos is actually her father, Ferdinand Marcos, which is something she doesn't share with most people. She was the hidden child. And the St. Germain Trust, as well as many other trusts, Princess Elizabeth is that trigger. I'm going to run part 2 of our interview sometime today on my main channel, because she just shares so many gems about all this global wealth. Okay, back to the article. The proposed towers align with plans to turn them into a key financial hub in Southeast Asia. Remember, I told you during the global pandemic, God is so good to allow us to know this information. This country, Vietnam, was securing trade deals and forming alliances with Southeast Asian nations. And now, the theme, I don't know how to say it properly, in Vietnam is going to be a key financial hub in Southeast Asia, just like Iraq is a key financial hub in the Middle East, because they just implemented their transit or transportation center in Iraq as of April the 1st, 2025, which connects Iraq to 66 countries all over the world. So Vietnam and Iraq are very two key nations that would be a good idea for us to invest in. You can buy okay, let's see. Family, where can you buy VND, Vietnamese dong? I've bought some on eBay. Let me see if there's some at 100trillions.com. People just want to get in touch with me so bad, but not right now. Soul Tribe is meeting. Yes, Vietnamese dong at 100trillions.com. I see them there. Vietnamese dong. Let me get to that page. Here you go. $100trillions with an S.com. I'll show you the website. Thrive. That was a great question. Here you go. And this is what they look like. That's 100trillions TRILLIONS.com. And in the search engine, you could put up, you can type in VND or Vietnamese dong. I typed in Vietnamese dong. This is a hot product, $1,000 per day. There is $1,000 USD per person per day limit. Oh, okay. For any combination of items that are specifically marked with the red 1,000 USD per day tag. That's because these are hot items. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just getting excited. This limit does not apply to any banknotes that do not have this tag. You can get 500,000 for $44 right now. The prices are going up. I see. You can get the 10,000. Is that $10,000? No, it's a $100,000 note for only $11.99. You can get the $200,000 note for $19.99. And they have all types of denominations here.